I was very involved with LOD notation, the system for recording movement, and taught it as a skill, but then realized that the important thing was not the notation, but the movement understanding that needed to go with it. So why not start with the movement understanding? That brought me to the development of the movement alphabet. Now, what is the movement alphabet? In the days when I studied the Cecchetti classical ballet system, I learnt the 7 basic movements in dancing. Where was the basic building blocks on which all movement is based? I did research. I read various books. Margaret Dobler, who established the first dance degree in the United States in a university. I studied Laban's list, and in 1967 came up with the list that we now call the movement alphabet. What is the value of the movement alphabet? To explore from the very beginning, as though getting your fingers in the clay of what movement is about. To understand how the body relates to space, what the body is capable of, the different dynamic qualities, all these elements can be explored without being precisely set in movement. It doesn't have to be the right arm first. It doesn't have to be the left leg stepping forward. There is a central idea, a central discipline, which can be performed in the manner of the person doing the movement. So this really became the basis of the whole language of dance approach to exploring, understanding, and studying movement. But a language is not only spoken, one wants to be able to read it and write it. And of course this means that the language of dance needs to have symbols. The Laban notation symbols were the basis of what is now called motif notation. These very simple symbols indicate the basic movement idea. Gradually, the symbols become a little bit more specific, and one builds up on a basic movement idea additional ways in which it can be performed. The notation is simple enough for young children, age 5 and certainly on, to grasp very readily. And because the progression in language of dance is from movement exploration, the physical activity, to the terminology, what is this movement called, to the symbol that represents it. Then because the symbols are, as we teach particularly young children, are on cutout cardboards, which can be placed on the floor, then we can spell out a sequence of movement ideas. And the children can select their own version, create their own sequences, which, having written them down through the symbols, they then perform. And the observers then look to see, did they do what was planned? And to engage their intellects, their brains, and to feel free to discuss and evaluate. Thus, we are not just concerned with the body, with an activity that might be meaningless. We're concerned with laying down really foundation stones to build up an understanding of what eventually may be quite a complex form. Because the language of dance is the basis for classical ballet, for contemporary, for folk dance, for dances of the many people around the world. Chinese, Japanese, African, all these forms make use of the basic movement alphabet.